I'll never forget the moment my mother pointed at the front door and told us to leave. It was Christmas night. Real Christmas night. Snow was falling outside, soft but heavy, and the whole street was glowing with warm lights and music. My grandfather stood beside me in his old wool sweater, the one with the patches on the elbows. For the first time in my life, I saw something new in his eyes. Not anger, not even surprise, just a quiet, tired sadness. My parents had finally done it. They chose their pride and their image over their own family, and they had no idea they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Because the poor old man they were throwing out into the cold, he was worth more than every house on that street put together. Before I tell you how that Christmas ruined everything and at the same time saved my life, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if your parents kicked you and your grandpa out on Christmas night? Growing up, my life was split in two. On one side, there were my parents. Their world was all about looks. Designer bags, luxury cars they could barely afford, country club memberships for pictures and gossip. My mother lived for attention and status. She would scroll through social media and show me posts. See? Look at how they live. That's how we're supposed to look too, she'd say. My father went along with everything. He worked late, took bad risks, and stressed over money just to keep up the image. Every decision they made was about how people would see them. And then there was Grandpa. He lived across town in a small apartment. He wore the same few outfits over and over. He drove an old car that coughed every time he started it. Every time he came over for dinner, my mother would tense up. She'd smooth her dress, fix her hair, and whisper to my dad, "Why does he always have to dress like that? It's embarrassing." She'd look at his car through the window and shake her head. My dad didn't defend him. He just sighed. And when Grandpa started talking about his past, about things he had done or learned, my dad would cut him off. "Not everyone needs to hear about your glory days, Dad," he'd mumble, eyes on his phone. But I listened. God, I listened. We'd escape to the backyard after dinner. The air would be cool and quiet. Grandpa would tilt his head back and point at the sky. "See that one?" he'd say. "That's Orion. That one over there, that's Cassiopeia. They all have stories." He'd tell me myths, old tales, and little lessons he learned in his life. "You know what matters, kiddo?" he'd say, hands folded in his lap. "Not what you have, what you do with it, and who you are when nobody's watching." Those words stayed in my chest like a small light. I was 23 that Christmas. I had a business degree and a decent job. Not super high paying, not glamorous, just honest work. My mother was not impressed. "You should be with someone rich by now," she'd say. "You're young, you're pretty. Why are you wasting time? Secure your future." She tried setting me up with her friends' sons, men with shiny watches, loud voices, and soft hands that had never done real work. They talked about themselves. They talked about their cars. They never asked what I wanted. I always said no. The weeks before Christmas were heavy. The walls in the house felt thinner. The arguments got louder. My dad's latest business venture was crashing. He'd put a lot of money into some real estate deal that was now falling apart. The numbers finally caught up with them. Bills, calls, late notices. The fake rich image was cracking. At night, when they thought I was asleep, I'd hear them arguing. "You said this deal was safe," my mother hissed. "I didn't know the market would tank," my father shot back. And then, of course, they turned on Grandpa. One night, I paused on the stairs when I heard my mother's voice. "If your father hadn't wasted his life playing simple and humble, maybe he could help us now," she whispered sharply. "Instead, we're stuck supporting him, a grown old man who brings nothing into this house." "That's not fair," my dad said, but his voice was weak. Grandpa wasn't their burden. He never asked them for anything. He paid his own rent. He bought his own food. But my mother needed someone to blame. And Grandpa was easy. Christmas Day came and the tension was thick. My parents insisted on hosting dinner. They wanted to show everyone that everything is fine. They spent money we didn't have on wine, food, decorations, and even a new centerpiece for the table. Grandpa arrived early, like always. He knocked, and when I opened the door, the cold rushed in. He smiled softly and held out a small gift wrapped in simple brown paper. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart," he said. I hugged him. "Merry Christmas, Grandpa." From the kitchen doorway, my mother watched us. "I hope you're not expecting anything extravagant from us this year," she said. "Money is tight." Grandpa gave her a gentle smile. I never expect anything. He hung his old coat on the hook by the door, like always. The dinner was a mess from the start. My parents had invited a few couples from the country club, hoping to impress them, show them they were still doing well. But one by one, the messages came in. Sorry, something came up. Can't make it tonight, maybe next time. I knew the truth. Everyone had heard about my dad's business failing. We were no longer worth their time. My mother's face was stiff and pale. The seats at the table felt like holes. We ate. There was too much food for 4 people and too much silence. As the hours passed and the wine bottles emptied, my mother's embarrassment turned into anger. And like always, it went straight toward Grandpa. Must be nice, she said suddenly, loud and bitter. Not having to worry about success. Not having to live up to anything. Just existing. I froze. Mom, stop, I said quietly. She swallowed more wine and shook her head. No, I'm serious, she said, staring at him. Look at you, 83 years old. And what do you have? A tiny apartment. That old car. Clothes that look like they came from a donation bin. Is that what you want Emma to learn? That being average is okay? Grandpa didn't answer right away. He just watched her with calm eyes. My father, who had been quiet and sulking, spoke up. She's right, Dad, he muttered. You had chances. You could have done more with your life. Instead, you settled. And look where that got you. Grandpa's voice was soft when he finally replied. I built plenty, he said. You just never cared to see it. My mother slammed her hand on the table. Built what? She snapped. Because I don't see anything. No big house, no big company, no inheritance. You've been a burden to us for years. You show up here with your sad little gifts and your sad little stories like, that's enough. Every word felt like a punch to my chest. That's enough, I said. You're being cruel. She turned on me. Her eyes were sharp and glassy. Oh, of course. Little Emma, always defending him, she spat. You know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of pretending we owe him something. He's done nothing for us. She stood up, swaying a bit, and pointed at Grandpa. I want you out, she said. The whole house stopped. Even the clock on the wall sounded louder. Grandpa blinked. Excuse me? You heard me, she said coldly. Get out. This is my house. I'm done pretending to respect someone who has nothing to offer this family. Put on your coat and leave. Mom, I shouted. You can't do that. It's Christmas night. My dad's face was tight and tired. Stay out of this, Emma, he snapped. I turned to Grandpa. He was already standing, calm, quiet. He picked up his coat slowly. Grandpa, no, I pleaded. You don't have to leave. She doesn't mean it. If he goes, you can go with him, my mother cut in. Since you love him so much, go and share his sad, broke life. My heart pounded in my chest. Everything went quiet inside me. I looked at my parents. At the house. At the decorated tree. At the expensive plates. At the fake perfection. Then I looked at Grandpa. He gave me a small nod. No pressure. No guilt. Just choice. My throat burned. Okay, I said, my voice shaking. I'll go with him. Fine, my mother screamed. Get out, both of you. Merry Christmas. The cold outside hit me like a slap. Snowflakes stuck to my hair and lashes. My breath came out in sharp, painful clouds. I looked back once. My mother slammed the door so hard the wreath shook. My father didn't move. He just stood there behind her, watching, arms crossed. Tears burned in my eyes and spilled down my face, turning icy on my cheeks. I'm so sorry, I whispered to Grandpa. I'm so sorry they treated you like that. He put his arm around me and pulled me close as we walked to his old car. Don't be sorry, kiddo, he said softly. They showed you who they are. It hurts now, but it's better to see the truth. We drove in silence to a small motel on the edge of town. The room was simple. 2 beds, a small table, a heater that rattled like it might fall apart. I sat on the bed, still in my dress, staring at the floor. Grandpa, I said finally, what are we going to do? I don't have much saved. I thought you were living on a pension. I don't want you to struggle because of me. He took out his old flip phone. We're going to be just fine, he said, smiling a little. Trust me. He made a few quiet calls I couldn't really hear. Then he ordered pizza. We ate in comfortable silence, listening to the wind outside and the soft hum of the heater. I didn't know it then, But that night was the beginning of everything. Over the next few weeks, my life looked completely different. I took a temporary leave from work and told them it was a family emergency, which was true. Grandpa rented us a small house on the outskirts of town. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm and peaceful. I thought he must have been using up all his savings to help us. "Are you sure you can afford this?" I asked him one day. He just smiled. "I've got a little saved up," he said. But people's reactions confused me. The landlord came in person to hand over the keys and shook Grandpa's hand like he was meeting someone important. At the utility office, the manager herself stepped out of her glass office to greet him. "Good to see you again, Mr. Harrison," she said. "We'll get everything set up right away." I frowned. "You know him?" She just smiled politely and went back. Sometimes, a sleek black car would park outside the house. A driver in a neat suit would wait while Grandpa came out for a quiet talk. "Grandpa, who are those people?" I asked one evening as he came back in. He just chuckled. "Old friends," he said. "Just old friends." I decided to get a part-time job to help. A small bookstore downtown hired me. The pay wasn't great, but I loved it. Shelves of stories, quiet hours, the smell of paper and coffee. That's where I met Daniel. He worked there too. He was a grad student, studying philosophy. He had soft brown eyes that looked like they understood more than you said. He moved slowly, like he wasn't in a rush to impress anybody. One afternoon, I was sitting in the back room on my break, staring at the wall, completely lost in my thoughts. He walked in with 2 cups of coffee. "You look like the world is sitting on your shoulders," he said gently. I let out a small laugh. "Is it that obvious?" He smiled, sat across from me, and slid one of the cups over. "Only to someone who's felt it before," he said. "You want to talk about it?" I hesitated. Then the words just started pouring out. I told him about Christmas night, about being kicked out, about how it felt to realize your own parents value their image more than you. I told him I was staying with my grandpa now, and that we were trying to figure things out. I didn't tell him about the weird respect people had for Grandpa, or the fancy car, or the strange calls. I still thought we were barely holding on. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to fix it. He just listened. When I finally stopped talking, he nodded. "Your grandfather sounds like a good man," he said, "and you sound like someone who knows what actually matters. That's rare." For the first time since that night, I felt seen. After that, we grew closer. We had coffee before our shifts. We walked home together after work, our breath mixing in the cold air. We talked about books, life, fear, family, and dreams. He never asked how rich my family was. He never asked what we owned. He only asked, "What do you want?" and really meant it. Meanwhile, my parents' life was falling apart. I heard from mutual friends that my dad's business had completely collapsed. They were in heavy debt. Creditors were calling. The house was in danger. My mother had started selling her precious handbags. They called me a few times. I watched the phone light up. My mother, my father. I couldn't bring myself to answer. What would I say? "Hi, did throwing me and Grandpa out in the snow work out for you?" No. About 2 months after that Christmas, Grandpa knocked on my door early one morning. "Get dressed, kiddo," he said. "We have somewhere to be." "Where?" I asked, rubbing my eyes. "You'll see," he replied with that small, secret smile. We drove into the city. Not to our usual places, past the little shops and small offices, into the center, where the buildings were made of glass and steel and money. We pulled up in front of one of the tallest towers. Before I could open the car door, a doorman rushed out. "Good morning, Mr. Harrison," he said, and opened the door for Grandpa. I froze. Mr. Harrison. The name stirred something in my memory. Articles. Lists of richest men. Business news. No way. We stepped into the lobby. It was huge, bright, expensive. People in suits passed us, and several of them nodded respectfully to Grandpa. We took a private elevator all the way to the top floor. The doors opened, and I stepped into another world. The entire floor was one giant office. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked over the whole city. There was art on the walls, a huge desk, a long table for meetings. On the glass door behind the desk, in big letters, it said, "Harrison Industries, Global Headquarters." My head spun. I turned slowly to Grandpa. "What is this?" I whispered. He walked calmly to the big desk and sat down like he had been doing it his whole life. "This," he said gently, "is my office. I stared at him. Your office? He nodded to the chair in front of him. Sit, Emma. There's a lot I need to tell you. He told me everything. He wasn't poor. He wasn't even comfortable. He was one of the richest men in the country. He told me how Harrison Industries owned commercial buildings in dozens of states, had stakes in big companies, and investments across the world. I couldn't even process the numbers. I stared at him. Billionaire? I whispered. Like, with a B? He nodded. Yes, with a B. I shook my head, confused. But the apartment, the old car, the clothes. Why? I asked. He looked at me with soft eyes. When you have this kind of money, people stop seeing you, he said. They only see what they can get. Your grandmother and I lived simply, and we were happy. She always said, if someone only loves your money, they don't love you at all. After she died, I wanted to know who really cared. Who would sit with me in that small apartment? Who would ride in that old car? Who would listen to my stories? He sighed. Your parents failed that test a long time ago, he said. They mocked me. They judged me. They made my worth about what I looked like. But you... He leaned forward. You never asked me for anything. You sat under the stars with me. You defended me on Christmas night. You walked out into the snow with me when you could have stayed in your warm house. Tears filled my eyes. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked. He smiled. I needed to know your love was real too, he said. Now I know. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a folder. I want you to be my partner, Emma, he said. Not just in name, in truth. You studied business. You have a good heart. I want you to help me run this company. You don't have to say yes today, but the offer is here. My hands shook as I took the folder. And one more thing, he said, his eyes hardening a little. We have some unfinished business with your parents. Over the next days, he showed me how deep everything went. My dad's failed business deal? Those mysterious investors who pulled out? Grandpa had bought them out quietly. The bank that handled the mortgage for my parents' house? The main company that now owned their debts? All under his control, layer upon layer. Different names, different companies. But at the top of it all, Grandpa. He didn't destroy them. He didn't sabotage anything. He just stopped protecting them. They dug the hole, he said. Now they feel it. Then one evening he said, it's time. Time for what? I asked. Time to let them see who they threw out on Christmas, he replied. We were in his office when my parents arrived. They thought they were meeting a powerful investor, somebody who could save them from losing everything. Their last chance. I watched from behind a two-way mirror at the side of the room. My heart pounded when I saw them. My mother looked a lot older. Her makeup couldn't hide how tired her face was. The clothes were still good quality, but not new, not shiny, not proud. My father's shoulders were slumped. There were dark circles under his eyes. They sat down in front of the big, empty desk. My mother smoothed her skirt nervously. My father kept glancing around the room. Do you think they'll help us? My mother whispered. They have to, my dad muttered. We have no one else left. The door opened. Grandpa walked in. My mother's mouth dropped open. My father went pale. You? My mother choked out. What? What are you doing here? Grandpa sat behind the desk. Hello, he said calmly. I believe you're here to discuss your debts. You're Harrison? My father asked, voice thin. You own all this? Yes, Grandpa replied. And I also own your mortgage, your business debts, and a few other things with your names on them. He looked at my mother. I also recently became majority owner of the country club you like so much. Her face crumpled. We didn't know, she whispered. We couldn't have known, Dad. If we had known... He cut her off with a small wave of his hand. You didn't need to know my net worth to treat me with basic respect, he said. On Christmas night, you called me worthless, a burden. You said I had nothing to offer this family. You kicked me and your own daughter out into the snow to protect your image. My mother started crying. We were stressed, she said. We were scared. The business was falling apart. We said horrible things. We didn't mean... Yes, you did, he said quietly. You meant every word. You just didn't think they would come back to you like this. My father's voice broke. Where is Emma? He asked. We want to apologize to her. Please. We were wrong. Grandpa looked toward the mirror. She's here, he said. A hidden panel opened, and I stepped into the room. My mother jumped up. Emma, she cried. Sweetheart, please. "We're so sorry. We didn't know what we were doing. We were under pressure. We never meant to hurt you like that." I held up my hand. "Stop," I said, my voice low but firm. "You meant it. You just didn't think I would leave with him. You didn't think it would cost you anything." She froze and sank back into her chair. My dad turned to Grandpa. "Dad," he said, his voice shaking, "what do you want? We'll do anything. Name your price. We'll sign whatever you need. Just don't let them take the house. Don't let them destroy us." Grandpa watched them quietly for a long moment. "I don't want your money," he said finally. "I want you to understand what you lost." He placed a hand gently on my shoulder. "Emma is now my partner in this company," he said. "She will inherit most of what I have. She is building a future based on character, not image." My mother sobbed harder. He slid a stack of papers across the desk. "These are your options," he said. "I will consolidate your debts into one manageable loan. You can keep your house. But there are conditions." My mother sniffed. "What? What conditions?" "You will live within your means," he said. "No more pretending. No more designer garbage you can't afford. You will get real jobs. You will work. You will go to family therapy with Emma and me. And you will face what you did on Christmas night." My father swallowed. "And if we say no?" Grandpa leaned back. "Then tomorrow I will call in every debt," he said. "The bank will take the house. The collectors will come. You will lose everything." The room was dead silent. My mother looked at the papers, then at me, then at Grandpa. "We'll sign," she whispered. "We'll do it." My father nodded. "We're sorry," he said, "for everything." I didn't say, "It's okay," because it wasn't. But I let them sign. The therapy sessions were rough. At first, they made excuses. We were under stress. You don't understand the pressure we were under. Everyone cares about image. Grandpa stayed calm. He didn't yell. He didn't throw their words back at them. He just told the truth. Over and over. "You chose your image over your child," he said. "You chose your pride over your father. You thought money made you better? It made you worse." Slowly, the walls started to crack. My mother cried a lot. My father sat in silence for long stretches. Sometimes they got defensive. Sometimes they tried to justify their choices. But little by little, they started to see it. See themselves. See what they had become. It didn't fix everything, but it opened something. They got normal jobs, no more fake rich lifestyle. Their clothes got simpler. Their words got quieter. We were not magically a happy family, but we were trying again, in a different way. Telling Daniel the truth was one of the scariest things I've done. We were walking home from the bookstore one evening, snow crunching under our boots. "I need to tell you something," I said. He looked at me. "Okay." I took a breath and told him everything. That Grandpa was a billionaire. That Harrison Industries was his. That I was now working there. That my life was not as simple as he thought. He was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "Okay," he said. "That's it?" I asked. "Okay." He laughed softly. "Emma, I fell for the girl who cries over old poetry and puts too much sugar in her coffee," he said. "The girl who defends her grandpa on Christmas night. The money doesn't change that, unless you let it." My eyes filled with tears. "You're really not intimidated?" I asked. He shook his head. "Should I be?" he teased. "Are you going to fire me from the bookstore?" I burst out laughing and threw my arms around him. "Never," I said. "You're stuck with me." We got married the next Christmas. Exactly 1 year after the night my parents kicked us out. The wedding wasn't huge. We didn't invite half the city. No one flew in on helicopters. No one wore a crown. It was small, warm, full of people who actually loved us. Grandpa walked me down the aisle in a clean, elegant suit. Not flashy. Just him. When we reached Daniel, Grandpa squeezed my hand. "You chose right, kiddo," he whispered. "You always do." My parents were there. They sat quietly. No loud speeches, no fake shine. They clapped. They cried. They looked human. We weren't fully healed, but we were not broken in the same way anymore. Now, 2 years later, I work at Harrison Industries, learning from the ground up. I sit in meetings. I read reports. I still ask Grandpa a million questions. Daniel teaches part-time at the university and still works with books because he loves them. We live in a nice house. Not huge. Not small. Just right. A place that feels safe, not like a stage. My parents still go to therapy. They still work normal jobs. Sometimes they slip back into old habits, but they catch themselves faster. They've apologized to me and to Grandpa more times than I can count. I forgave them, but I didn't erase what happened. That Christmas night is carved into all of us. And Grandpa? He still wears his simple clothes sometimes, still drives his old car once in a while. Sometimes, he says, I like to see how people act when they think I'm nobody. He always smiles when he says that. Money can be taken away, he tells me. Who you are can't. Sometimes at night, when it's snowing, I stand by the window and think about that Christmas. The cold, the slam of the door, my mother's voice, my grandfather's calm eyes. They kicked us out like we were trash. They had no idea they were throwing away the man who owned almost everything they were trying so hard to impress people with. They chose greed over love, image over integrity, and they paid for it. But the real revenge wasn't the billions. It wasn't owning their house note. It wasn't controlling their debts. The real revenge was this. Grandpa built something real. A family that learned, slowly, painfully, to value love over labels. A life where character mattered more than cash. He gave me that gift. And that night in the snow, when I chose to walk out with him, I thought I was losing everything. But actually, I was walking straight into the life I was meant to have. If you were in my shoes that night, would you have left with Grandpa too? Tell me in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to remember that no amount of money can replace real love and real character.